All right. Happy Tuesday. Hope you're doing well. Wherever you are tuning in, welcome to another edition on what is going on in the real estate market. What the heck's going on in the real estate market? Every week we dive into the headlines and kind of go beyond the headlines to find out what the real deal is. And you know what? Sometimes news flash. It's not always what it seems. Oh my goodness. But this week we're talking about, I wanted to talk to you guys about capital gains and the proposal that the Trump administration has crafted a bill proposing to eliminate the capital gains tax. Now, I did a video a couple weeks back, a month or so ago, going into capital gains. A lot of you guys reached out to me and asked questions about, how does capital gains work, and how do we figure it out, and what do I do, and all the things. So, it's something that's a top of mind, especially right now where affordability is a challenge, and any edge that you can find to help you save some money is a win. And, capital gains, getting rid of capital gains tax, could it put more money in your pocket? Does it even matter? Is it feasible? We're going to get into all that. But I got some housekeeping items as I do every week. So first off, we got a poll. I want to see what you guys are thinking about, what your thoughts are this week. And if I can get this thing to expand, here we go. If the capital gains tax was eliminated, would that impact your decision to sell? I want to hear from you. I want to know what your thoughts are on that. Chime in, have a little fun with the poll, go over the results at the end to see what everybody's what contribution is on that. The other thing is I want to know about your wins. I want to hear about good things going on in your neck of the woods. What successes have you had this week? Get your house on the market. Did you get under contract? Get an offer accepted? Did you submit an offer, get it accepted? Did you take the first step to get the house ready? Maybe you sorted through that box in your closet that has been sitting there for 10 years and you've been dreading doing it, and you finally did it. Share it. Because you know what? Every little bit of positivity and reinforcement gives you momentum. Momentum moves you forward. So let's share those wins. If you have questions, either during the live stream here, you put QQQ before the question, or on the replay, you can do that as well. This just helps me pinpoint it so that I can make sure that I answer your questions, because you know what, I do these solo every week, and sometimes when that chat gets hopping, which I love, sometimes it's hard, and to see the questions. I don't want to miss anybody. And I also want to mention that I have been and will continue to link these articles in the description. So if you want to see any of these articles, kind of dig into it, read it yourself, all the things, I'm going to link it in the description after the show, and so that you can actually see what I'm talking about. So we got some stuff to dig into. Let's see. We've got Paul T in the house. Can't vote on the iPhone. That's a bummer. That's weird, actually. That's interesting. I didn't realize that was a restriction on the iPhone, to be perfectly honest. But I'm glad you're here, Paul, nonetheless. Leslie G in the house, chiming in from Pflugerville, Texas. Hope you're doing well over there in Pflugerville. Last week it was actually a couple days it was actually hotter here in Massachusetts, on the south coast of Massachusetts, towards Cape Cod, and it was hotter here than it was down in Austin, which got family down there, which was crazy, but not this week. I'm wearing long sleeves, and usually I only wear long sleeves inside, but today I had at a closing this morning, and it was only in the low 70s, which I love. Paul T says, I can't get a good buyer contract. Buyers are using their power to cancel the contract, to lie about their offer, and bait us to take our house off the market. Ah, yes. Yeah, there is a lot of garbage going on in the market. And honestly, I mean, it's always been there to a certain degree, and it's getting worse. It's getting worse because of the fact that a lot of people are getting desperate. But you know what? The people that should be guiding those folks, the agents at the helm, a lot of them don't know what the hell they're doing. Excuse my language. Ooh, what the heck they're doing. I didn't mean to say that. We got Chick U in the house. Hello, hello. Okay, so every week I do a little news flash, breaking news. I'm going to do something a little different this week. I'm going to do something a little different this week because I had something happen to me last night that was not fun. Was not fun, and I wanted to share it with you guys. So I was meeting a client for a final walkthrough, purchasing a house, and as I was walking through the front door, my phone started buzzing like crazy, all alarms and so forth. And I picked it up and I looked at it, and it said, "Water leak in basement." And I went, "Oh no." Oh no. And you're probably wondering, how does my phone know that? Well, I'm going to tell you. And this is going to be a little PSA, I guess, if you want to call it, but just something that I want to share with you because I think it's so worthwhile to do so. So I have these little sensors throughout my house around my plumbing, and they are tiny. You see that? You can see my hands, average size woman's hand. So the sensors are tiny. I put one behind underneath the kitchen sink, one under the dishwasher, water heater, bathroom under the bathroom sink, and I put one behind near my well pump, or my well holding, my holding tank, my pressure tank, and behind my washing machine. This was going off in my basement behind my washing machine. Thankfully, my 23-year-old actually still lives at home. Called her. She was home. Called her up. Said, "Can you run down to the basement?" Well, I had water behind behind my washing machine, and the main water line had sprung a pinhole leak. If this didn't go off, if I didn't have this, I would never have known because it was tucked around the corner where my laundry is. When I go in and out of the house through my basement, except for my garage is under, so I always come in through the garage and up through the basement, up to the stairs. It's around the corner. I would never have seen it. I would never have seen it. That thing would have been leaking all night, and I may not have seen it until the next time I walked into that area to put a load of laundry in, which wasn't going to be until the weekend. And in the meantime, that thing would have been leaking and leaking and leaking and leaking. This thing saved my butt. Now, because grew up in the age of MacGyver. I'm sure you guys remember the show MacGyver, and I got a little MacGyver in me. Took matters into my own hand. First off, told my 23-year-old shut the main off to the house. Please, if you don't know where your water main shut off is, you need to know. Make that a priority. She shut that off. Stop the bleeding. So once we did that, some Flex Seal tape. I should have actually grabbed a picture so I could show you. Some Flex Seal tape, a piece of rubber, and some hose clamps. Bada bing, bada boom. No leak for the time being till I have a chance to fix it. But these little things, and you know what? I bought these. These are not expensive. So you can see the size of them. You get your little alert on the phone here. I buy these on Amazon. So you need this little device here, and it's just a little USB, plugs in the wall, little wall outlet, and then it talks to these, and then 16 bucks. And you buy a pack of 3 and all that kind of stuff. Anyways, that's my public service announcement. You do not have, no, I have a full smart home set up. I think I've got 85 or 90 smart home devices in my house. Yeah, I like the technology. I like the convenience and all the things. You don't have to do that. You don't have to go there. You download the app and manage it, and you add these to it. I think they are they save my bacon big time. This thing is worth every penny. So anyways, wanted to share that story with you because I think it is worth while. So let's see what we got here. We got Michael X in the house, ready to learn some real estate news. We're gonna get into it. Coming in from Mesa, Arizona. I wonder as I I wonder as I wander. I love that. I love that. House on market in Belgrade Lakes, Maine. My neck of the woods. Learned a ton in getting ready. Excellent, excellent. Thank you so much. Asia wants to help the rest of her clients. No, no thanks. Wants me to help the rest of her clients. No way. Um, Paul says, I think their 80% buyer brokers are coaching them to be bad. Well, the problem is, Paul, they're not coaching them to be bad or make bad decisions. The 80% agent just doesn't know any better. Sometimes they do it intentionally. A lot of times they just don't know what they're doing. I don't know how many times I've had to explain clauses to the buyer that's making buyer's agent that's making an offer on my listing. This is why I started this channel. Frustration. We got Clark in the house down in Atlanta, Georgia. How you doing, my friend? Let's see. We've got yes, plumbing. Washer pan can be expensive. Using a pan injection with a water alarm is a great alternative. Yes, 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 yes. 100%. 100%. And you know what? I know there's a lot. If you do any kind of DIY stuff, I know there is not. I'm not going to go down the rabbit hole on this. Not the main topic today, but there's a lot of debate about shark bite. Plumbing fixtures and so forth, plumbing connections. And I did a video early on when I launched the channel. It kind of went into a little bit of that. My water filtration system, and I didn't even realize this, my water filtration system, which was installed 23, 24 years ago, 1-inch copper pipe coming in and out of that water filtration system, unbeknownst to me, they use shark bite. The water filtration company used shark bite, and it's still, knock on wood, it's fine. It's all in the installation. It's all in the installation. Let's see. Cindy's Cross Stitch says, I had a win. Woohoo! Fantastic. Sold my house in 7 days by myself. Cash deal, no inspection. Sold 4K less than asking price. I prepped just like she tells you. Oh, fantastic. Good for you. I hope everything goes smooth. Whoops, wrong button. Smooth as silk. Smooth as silk. Yes, flex tape for the win. For the win. Well, I think flex tape and the hose clamps is what did the trick. We've got Teresa Webb in the house from Maryland. Accepted an offer on Saturday. Fantastic, fantastic. So excited, nervous about inspections. That's totally normal. Totally normal. Make sure you just understand what the expectations are from the buyer and contingencies and all the things and time frames and when you'll hear back from them and all that. But it is normal. Home inspectors on new houses find faults. That's what their job is. So just lean into the important stuff. If anything important, safety stuff. Lynn says, I bought leak sensors for everything in my house that has a water connection. Yes. Also put fitted trays with tall lips from Amazon under every sink and a sensor under the tray. So that's a great idea. Thank you. I think I might jump on that. That's fantastic. I'm gonna have to write that down. That's a great idea, actually, because I do that. Water trays, I put them under water heaters all the time. I never thought about putting it under kitchen sinks and bathroom sinks. 100%. We got Angie in the house. Yes, yeah, we're gonna get into the 100%. We're gonna get into your capital gains situation, whether it's good or bad. Hoping my house, hoping to sell my house this month, but I hear August is a poor month. That depends. It depends on where you live. I heard another YouTuber, I won't mention who they are, but I heard them say on one of their shows earlier this week that August is a terrible month to sell a house. I listed a house. My client is actually a viewer. They reached out to me from YouTube. We put their house on the market Tuesday. And yes, I'm in Massachusetts, but the market has shifted big time, big time. Um, we had 6 offers in 4 days, and it's under contract. Matter of fact, the home inspection's tomorrow. Did it sell for crazy over asking? No. That's those days are those that ship has sailed. But here's the thing, there are a ton of properties in that same market that are sitting. It's all in proper pricing, proper presentation. Doesn't matter the month, but depending on where you live, asterisk, because there are certain months, depending on seasonality and tourism and all the things. Like, what is the seasonality of your market? But blanket statement, August is a terrible month? Absolutely not. You gotta know the market data. All right, let's get into, so take a look here. We got Susan, maybe. I really think I should get those leak detectors. Heard someone say that their fridge water hose leaked and caused all kinds of damage. I, this person is very tech savvy and did not have these. Yeah, you know what? Actually, that reminds me. I had my years and years and years ago, my water dispenser line leaked. And I didn't discover it until it was leaking through my garage because the kitchen's right above the garage. So that is, I should put one of those under there as well. Good tip. Thank you for that. So we're going to talk about capital gains and whether, this thing that the Trump administration proposed is, will it happen? And what are the details? Mm. So let's get into it. Let's get into it. All right. So we've got, this is coming out of, I'll tell you right now, I scoured, oh my goodness, I think I read at least 10 articles to find the one that, was probably the easiest to, or the best that, gave you an overview without being, left or right, which is not all that easy all the time. But this came out of Yahoo Finance. It says eliminating capital gains on homes sales would be a boon for older homeowners in high cost states. Interesting, interesting. It says President Trump recently said to his administration was thinking about, they're doing more than thinking about it, removing capital gains taxes on home sales to help jumpstart the sluggish housing market. The biggest beneficiaries of such a change will likely be longtime homeowners in the country's more expensive housing markets. Removing or increasing the capital gains limit, currently $250,000 for single or $500,000 for married couples, on home sales have been a long-time priority for the real estate industry. I'm going to get into, actually, this article in a minute gets into like how that all breaks down. For married couples, on home sales has been a long-time priority, which argues that steep tax bills are keeping some homeowners who wish to relocate or downsize stuck in homes that no longer fit their needs. I would argue that that is not, maybe that could be a factor, but not the primary factor. In any event, it says take the case of a homeowner in San Francisco, where home prices have more than tripled between 2000 and 2025 to a median price. This is assuming you've been in your house and for 25 years, to a median price of about $1 million today. A homeowner who purchased in 2000 for 300,000 might have 700,000 of gains if they sell now. Now, it's not, this is super, super simplified. This is depending on their tax filing status. Between $200,000 and $450,000 of those gains would be taxable at rates between 15 and 20%. Under any scenario, their tax bill would be in the tens of thousands of dollars. Now, this is super, super simplifying it, because capital gains is a lot more than just looking at the difference between what you paid and what it's worth today, because of the fact that you can actually increase your basis. 300,000 is your basis. And when you make improvements to your home, you have receipts and, capital improvements. Not all improvements are included as, capital improvements, but ones that are approved, that 300 may turn into 500 or 600,000. And now you're looking at that $700,000 in gains now shrinks to 3 or 400,000 potentially, maybe even less. And your taxable income, depending on how much, your tax bracket is going to indicate how, what your rate is and all the things. So this is super, super simplifying if you're trying to do the math in your head, maybe on your own, your own home. Here's the thing. It says where capital gains taxes hit home sellers the hardest. And it kind of actually, the share of homeowners over 500,000 exclusion limit in 2023. I'm not even going to pay attention to that because you know what? Even though this is a recent article, just a couple days ago, that 2023 graphic is not applicable. But prices are still, and depending on where you are, prices are still going up. It says those homeowners are getting more attention in today's market because for sale inventory is constrained in many parts of the country, pushing home prices to record highs. It's unclear exactly how much helping wealthier homeowners would enliven a sedate market. While it could unlock more inventory, some experts say it could worsen the affordability problem. I'm going to get into another article in a second about where, if this capital gains tax was removed, where it would be felt the most, where the most benefit, which states would benefit the most, because not everybody would see any kind of benefit. Any changes to the capital gains would require congressional approval. Trump's comments came earlier this week in response to a question from Brian Glenn, a reporter. It says that I'm gonna skip over any of all this garbage. It says the Georgia Republican recently introduced, Marjorie Taylor Greene introduced the No Tax on Home Sales Act. Now, here's the thing. President Trump did not introduce this. This was actually Marjorie Taylor Greene introduced this. And I'm just going to hop right over to her bill. So she introduced this bill. This was actually July 10th. I waited a little bit. I wanted this to season a little bit to see what kind of trickled down, what kind of reporting was done on it before doing this, kind of digging into this data. But this is the bill that was proposed. So it's more than just thinking about it. Not just thinking about it. There's a bill that's been that has been introduced, that is in discussion. And it says, Marjorie Taylor Greene says families who work hard, build equity, sell their homes should not be punished with massive tax bills. I can get on board with that. Capital gains tax on home sales is an outdated, unfair burden, especially in today's housing market where values have skyrocketed. My bill fixes that. Currently, the IRS allows an exclusion up to $250,000, $500,000 for joint. Those limits haven't been updated since 1997. As home prices have risen, more middle-class homeowners are being hit with capital gains taxes that were originally intended for wealthy investors. Congresswoman Greene's bill would eliminate the federal capital gains, encourage mobility by removing a key disincentive to selling, helping to increase housing supply, deliver tax relief to homeowners looking to downsize or relocate without being penalized for appreciation, and protect first-time home buyers by improving inventory and lowering prices in the most constrained housing market. I have some comments about that. She says homeowners who have lived in their homes for decades, especially seniors in places where values have surged, shouldn't be forced to stay put because of an IRS penalty. My bill unlocks that equity, helps fix the housing shortage, and supports long-term financial security for American families. Well, that all sounds great, doesn't it? If it were only that easy. But here lies some of the challenge with this. If the capital gains tax was removed, and say you are part of that clan that says, okay, we're gonna, that's enough to get me to move, and I'm going to go ahead and put my house on the market. And maybe your house is a first-time home buyer house. Maybe it's not. But predominantly the ones, and I'm going to get into that data in a second, but predominantly the ones that are benefiting the most, the ones that have the most amount of equity, which is likely going to be the baby boomer generation. That generation is not selling and going into, assisted living old folks' homes. No, they're buying the same homes that first-time home buyers are buying. They want to get into a ranch. You guys have talked to you guys. I met with a client the other day. They have a big family home. They want to sell it. Now they want to downsize. But they don't want to downsize into an old folks home. They're active. They want to stay active. They just want something that's on one level. A one-level ranch, a starter home. So in a sense, what will then happen is that now you're going to have more people that are going to be competing with first-time homebuyers for entry-level housing. I don't agree with releasing the capital gains tax. I don't agree with her assessment that it's going to protect first-time homebuyers and improving inventory and lower prices. Okay, no, that alone is not going to be the magic pill. It's not. Why? Because there's too much competition. You've got baby boomers that want to downsize and can't because there's not enough first-time home buyer housing. And any that is there, they're going to snatch it up first. And not only that, but when they make their offers and they're making an offer to a seller and saying, listen, I've got 200, 300, or sometimes all cash offer, and they're competing against a first-time home buyer that's doing 3%, 3.5%, 5% down. Who's going to win? It's a sad tale, and I wish it weren't true, but that's my commentary on that. And I think that is a little bit to say it's a magic pill, I think is a little bit misleading. So I want to jump back to the other article in a second, but I just want to check in. I want to check in with the chat, see what you guys are. See if we got any questions here, and let's see. We've got. Enjoy some music while I'm going through the chat. All right. Angie says August here is slow. September upswing. Yes. Chick says I won't. Chick you says I won't hold my breath that the elimination of capital gains tax will come to fruition. Yeah, you know what? There's an alternative solution that might happen, and I'm going to talk about that in a second. Let's see. I don't think capital gains should be removed, but increased. It hasn't changed in almost 30 years. I agree. I think the minimums need to be adjusted for sure. Let's see. It says yes, you can't get interest rates dropped, so other alternatives for stimulating housing home sales are considered. So here's the thing: there were a couple articles about the President Trump criticizing Powell for not lowering interest rates. The federal rate, the rates that Powell has control over, does not directly impact the mortgage rates. It drives me bonkers, along with a lot of other folks that I talk to about this, that there is so much emphasis on and blame on Powell. He's not blameless, but no, I mean, everybody's got there's a burden to every role in the government. However, it is not as easy. Case in point, and you can check this out yourself. Go back to the fall when the Fed rate dropped an entire percentage. I want you to look at what happened with the interest rates, what happened with the mortgage rates. Mortgage rates didn't budge. They didn't budge. Why? Because the mortgage rates are impacted by investor activity, the T-bills. What is happening in the investor market, that more impacts what happens with what the banks do. The individual banks control the mortgage rates, not the Fed rate. Now, historically, they do ride in unison, but they're not connected. One doesn't impact the other directly. Just the Powell could lower the interest rate by 2% tomorrow. And it is very possible because mortgage rates are, you have to take into consideration all the other factors that are involved, the economy, the consumer confidence, the job rate, all the things on whether an investor feels confident that they can lower the interest rate. So it's not as easy. I wish it were, but I think they know that. I think the government knows that. I think that they like to use scapegoats. I think they all do. Doesn't matter whether you've got Democrats or Republicans in office. It's a government thing. It's a government thing. They always like to use somebody else to blame. It's like it's the easy way out. Oh my gosh. Can somebody please step up and just, fix this whole situation? I digress. I digress. Oh gosh, Angie says, when I saw 24.7% capital gains. Ah. Let's see. Is replacing MHOA, good to see you. Is replacing a sewer line and a roof approved? Great question. To the best of my knowledge, and I'm trying to think back when I did my research for that video, there is a difference between capital improvements and maintenance. And I am 95% certain that sewer line and roof, replacements are under maintenance and would not be allowable for capital gain improvements. Now, you have a kitchen, but you rip it out and put a whole new kitchen, that's an improvement. Septic system fails, put a new septic system in, that's not an improvement, that's maintenance. Replacing your heating system from an old system, maintenance. Replacing it with a high efficiency, maybe you can make the case to have it as an improvement. But you've got to think about it in two different categories in order to basically differentiate between the two different capital improvements. You definitely do some research, do some heavy research. Lynn, good to see you. I don't see elimination happening, but the limit hasn't been indexed for inflation. Oh, yes. Thank you so much for saying that, because I actually, I think that was something that I want to get into that actually. I am one who is affected by this because I have been here on 20 acres for 28 years, and land has gone way up over time. 110%, 110%. So you know what? I'm going to jump back to the article real quick. Dun, 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 dun. If you guys have questions, make sure you put QQQ so I can catch my as I'm scrolling through. The article goes on to say that around 10% of homeowners nationally have enough equity to surpass the $500,000 limit. 10%. 10%. I do not feel that 10% is a significant enough of a number to claim that it is going to have a huge impact on the housing market. I don't think it's big enough. And that is for couples. It says, according to the National Association of Realtors, that data is from the National Association of Realtors, which has advocated for reconsidering the caps. In states where home prices have risen rapidly, homes are more expensive, the share can be far higher. It says Alex Caswell, founder of Wealth Script Advisors San Francisco, works primarily with clients in California and New York, many of whom have to consider capital gains in their housing decisions. He says this will primarily affect people in affluent towns and those who have owned their homes for a long time. We have experienced a significant price increase since lows of 2008. So anyone who has bought after that period stands to benefit significantly. He thinks buying and selling activity could tick up in those states if the bill were to pass, but he worries the dynamics could also mean, more older homeowners with lots of purchasing power, which would be competing with first-time home buyers for smaller, cheaper homes. There it is. There it is. It's as though just a small percentage of home sales exceed the limit. The number has been growing in recent years thanks to unprecedented home price appreciation during the pandemic. Um, it says the current exclusion on $500,000 for a couple is totally inadequate, and that is a real problem. As John Powell, financial planner at Powell Plans in Walpole, Massachusetts, my area. In Massachusetts, 18% of homes exceeded the cap in 2023. You have to be rich to have a $1 million home these days. So in so much of the Northeast and Pacific coast. However, no matter where they're located, homeowners who have been in their homes for decades and have had the longest time to build equity are most likely to be affected. The Budget Lab at Yale calculated that in 2022, the average homeowner above the exemption was nearly 65 years old, net worth of $5.7 million. Can you imagine? $5.7 million, and a home valued at $1.4 million. With the median average price in the United States at just around $450,000. This is not speaking to those folks. It says, while Trump and Taylor Greene have floated eliminating the tax altogether, others have argued for raising the limits. The current caps have been in place since 1997, meaning they haven't kept up with inflation. There's your aunt. This is the part I was getting to. If they were tied to inflation, there would be just over, they would be just over double current levels at 506,000 for single and 1.13 million for married filers, according to an analysis from Realtor.com. 500,000 for single and 1.3 million double. My commentary on this, given that information, given the fact that the percentage of people that it would help, the average price range of the people that would be able to benefit. I looked at the bill. This very, very, very much helps the affluent sector of our economy, not the people that are actually, no, I shouldn't say it's not going to help those that need it, because for sure, those that are in, not everyone in that above that 1.4 million, around that 1.4 million. I mean, the average sale price in California is around $1 million. So it's not everyone is affluent. But the rest of the country won't see the benefit. And, eliminating it, I think a better alternative is to raise the caps. So those that have $3, $4, $5 million homes don't walk away with a huge, bags of money, carrying bags of money in their hands. They should pay taxes. They should pay their fair taxes. Raising it would help, I think, the average homeowner in those states that'll be most affected. My opinion. I am gonna check the chat real quick, y'all. Enjoy some hold music. I'd love to do the classic elevator music, but yeah, YouTube won't allow me to do that. Let's see here. Let's see. Lydia says, we just sold our house in Silicon Valley, closes on the 20th. Congratulations. That's awesome. Capital gains taxes are going to be about $500,000 after the improvements, $500,000 allowance, etc. Not waiting for a potential capital gains tax cut. Ouch! I'm so sorry about that. That is that's a hit. That's a hit. Chicky says, I just sold my ranch. Congratulations. However, it has 2 decks in the backyard. It is terraced with steep stairs leading down to the garden. Nice. Sounds beautiful. Beautiful. Let's see here. Do, 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 do. Okay. So Sadahi, I hope I can say that correctly, is the capital gains removal for primary home sales only. I think that's what I saw in the article. Okay, so capital gains tax is on your primary residence. And the one thing that I wanted to mention is that there is a rollover rule, just so that folks, that I know there's a lot of confusion about this. It was repealed in 1997. The rule was that if you were selling a property, buying another, that you could roll over those proceeds into another house and not have to be liable for paying the capital gains tax on those proceeds. That is no longer the case. It was repealed in 1997. So it doesn't matter if you sell a property, buy another one. If you are in that bracket, you are past the exclusion amount, you are going to be liable for those taxes, even if you're taking your proceeds and putting it into another property. It does not apply on investment property. If you're doing an investment property of any kind, you can look at 1031 exchange. 1031 exchange is a great vehicle to sidestep and prolong those capital gains. That would essentially be the rollover, the equivalent to doing a rollover with your taxes, with your capital gains tax. Let's see here. What else we got? Yeah, I apologize if I don't drink my my organic tea here with my honey. I lose my voice during the live streams. Let's see. MHOA says the sky high debt will push up rates on the 10-year. Yeah, so the 10-year Treasury T-bill is that is a problem when you look at credit card debt, when you look at student loan debt. And here is the thing that we have to take into consideration. I don't know about you, but here where I'm at, South Shore, Massachusetts, prices are going up on everyday goods all over the place. I'm seeing my grocery bill go up. I'm seeing my electric bill go up. I'm seeing gas go. I'm seeing everything going up, which is very, very indicative. Inflation is increasing. We're headed towards a recession. We're headed that way. Hopefully not. But the debt is a problem. And because when I saw this happen, when the market crashed very quickly in 2006, 7, 8, people were not prepared. They lived on credit cards. I've said this before on this live stream, and this is just my commentary, my feeling. As a society, I think we've forgotten how to live within our means. I think that society dictates that we have to live a certain way. And so that people will do that regardless of how much money they have in their bank account. And they will go into debt. They will go into debt to have an iPhone instead of an Android, which may be half the price. You got to have the iPhone. If you can't afford it, don't buy it. Don't buy it. But this is one of the reasons why debt is so high. Student loans. I got one that graduated college. I got another one's going away in 3 weeks to college. That is what it is. At least my younger kid's going to state school, which is a win. It's a big win. Retirement is underrated. Hey, thanks for coming. Welcome back. Yeah, and I think I mentioned last time you were on that retirement is underrated. I've talked to many. I have some friends that have retired. I have a lot of folks that talked to a lot of folks that have been retired. Yeah, busier than when you were when you weren't retired. So when we sell our home, there won't be enough of a gain to have capital gains. We may realize about 220,000 gain. You're in good shape then. You're in good shape. You are in very, very good shape. Okay, so Angie says, I was told that my new roof counts. Well, then there you go. I am not a tax accountant. I am not a financial planner. Everything I say on this live stream, please do not take it verbatim. When it comes to any of your finances, please talk to a professional, because case in point, you know what? That's the case. That's fantastic. I wonder if the type of roof makes a difference too. Dave and Test in the PNW says, my parents have about 1 million in equity. They want to sell and move to 55 plus, live in Washington State. No capital gains would help them decide to sell. And that is huge. I wonder if even, if it was raised, like they talk about in this article, to, with a couple 1.13 million and they have $1 million in equity, if they were to adjust the limits, which I think they absolutely should. I don't think it's going to pass. I don't think that bill's going to pass as is. And that's not, this is the way government works. You put a bill, out to be, for discussion and review, and it never gets passed as is. It's always, you're going to shoot for the moon. It's like Christmas, right? When you're a kid and you put your Christmas list together and you're like, I'm going to ask for everything. And then maybe you get half. But that's the same way. And I'm not going to comment about the fact that I think it's a bunch of children in the government. Interesting analogy there, huh? Oy vey. Let's see. Politics is only 10%, but it might have a ripple effect. Possibly. The question is it big enough? Is the ripple effect big enough? Lynn says, I'm looking at a possible $400,000 to $600,000 taxable gain, and that approximately $50,000, ouch, tax bill really stings. Lots of sweat equity involved. It triggers IRMAA too. I'm not sure what that stands for, but that $400,000 to $600,000 taxable gain after improvements, is that before or after your exclusion? Because it would be considerably lower. Michael X, thank you so much. Everybody, come on in, everybody, chat. Hit the thumbs up for Jen. Thank you so much. MHOA, man, you go grocery shopping every single time, every week. Every Tuesday night, you're going grocery shopping. I wish you lived near me so you could go. I could give you my list. And Clark, thank you so much for saying that. Appreciate it. All right, I want to jump into what it looks like on. I want to get into some of the data. So this was published yesterday. This is some Redfin data. Redfin does a good job with their data. I like the stuff that they come up with. California, Hawaii, and Massachusetts have the highest share of homeowners who would benefit if capital gains tax is eliminated. All right. We've got, more than a quarter of U.S. homes have gained at least $250,000 since last time they were purchased, with 8% having gained more than $500,000. Owners of these homes stand to benefit if the capital gains tax was eliminated. All right, actually, I'm going to skip right down to some of the meat here of the article. It says the upper and the lower bounds of the potential shares of homeowners who stand to benefit if the tax on capital gains from this home sale is eliminated. Skimming here. Okay, so here is the U.S. homes potentially impacted by the capital gains tax on home sales. Okay, so this is the data. This is according to analysis by Redfin estimates for U.S. homes compared to their most recent sale price. Analysis provides a high-level estimate of who may benefit from a change of capital gains tax rules on home sales. Please note, however, the tax rules are complex, and every homeowner's circumstances are unique. Yes. So we've got the share of homes, the median capital gain tax liability and the median home value. So homes that have gained $500,000 plus is 8%, with a median capital gain of 702,000. On 702,000, your tax liability, assuming a 15% tax rate, would be roughly almost $32,000. Now, homes that have gained 250,000, approximately, larger share for sure, especially those that bought in 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021. After those years, that's when the market went bananas. And we saw, I mean, it was just a straight line and huge gains. Homes, so for $250,000, 25, almost 26% of the share of U.S. homes with a median capital gain 384,000 and a tax liability of 20 grand, with a median home value of $720,000, still above the average, the U.S. average. And this is overall the median capital gain 144,000 with no tax liability, and the median home value of $385,000. So, I mean, a lot of those folks are not going to be affected for sure. But moving on to who will, homeowners that pay capital gains when they sell their home have increased in value. I think we've already talked about this actually. That's part of it. I want to skip right down to here. California, Hawaii, Massachusetts, highest share. Says the biggest potential beneficiaries of the capital gains tax being eliminated are homeowners who have already built considerable wealth through their property. And they mainly come from states where home prices are high. When they're high, they have those that 10%, 20% appreciation. Well, 20% of 500,000 or $1 million is going to be a lot more than 20% of 300,000, 400,000, right? Math, elementary math. It says that starts with California, where the median home price is 700. Actually, I thought it was closer to $1 million. Median home value is $766,896. And the typical capital gain for all homes is $332,000 and change. Looking closer, 62.3% of California homes have gained at least $250,000 since they were last sold, the highest share of any state. 1 in 3 have gained more than $500,000. Holy cow. States with the highest share. So these are the states that are going to be the ones that are most affected: California, Hawaii, Massachusetts, Washington, and Jersey. My friend Jackie down in Jersey, we've been talking about the red hot market, which incidentally, the entire Northeast region is cooling down. Most definitely. We're not seeing prices fall. I don't think we're going to see prices fall, but they definitely are leveling out and chilling out. So we've got, you can see a common pattern here. The median home value, California at the top, Hawaii, 834,000. But then Massachusetts, Washington, New Jersey, median home value is all in the 600s. The share of homes that have gained 250,000, whopping 58.4% in Massachusetts, over half. And the ones that have gained 500,000 in value since they purchased, 20% Massachusetts, 19% Washington. You can read through this with the article, go through these numbers on your own and all the things. But here's the thing, there was a point in time, I remember reading some data a while back that talked about there was a big surge in single first-time home buyers. There was several years ago a surge in single women being the largest segment buying homes. And I have to think back to that. As a single woman now, divorced, so as a single mom, when I go to sell this house, now I'm gonna be losing $250,000 of exclusion. I understand, and this is my commentary, I understand why, but I also argue that I don't know that that's necessarily fair. If you have if you have a single homeowner that has built up this wealth on their own and they're penalized because they're not married, let that sink in for a second. Yes, they have, married potentially, presuming you have two incomes, which is the case, never used to be the case. Now, if you have two incomes, both incomes, but for those that don't have dual incomes, maybe you have one person that's working two jobs. How does that come into play, in terms of fairness? Just inquiring minds want to know. I'm interested to hear what your thoughts are on that, because I think that those are some questions that I'm curious about. Here are the states that would benefit most, and these are all the states. So we've got, if the capital gains tax. So we've got the top five, laid out. After that, a lot. We've got Rhode Island, New Hampshire, but then we've got Utah, which saw a big surge during COVID. Big surge during COVID. A lot of folks leaving California, moving to Utah. Idaho, Colorado. Colorado has seen a lot of growth. Oregon, Columbia, Virginia, Nevada, another state that a lot of folks fled, California during COVID and went down. Some went to Texas. A lot of them went to Nevada. Maine, Arizona. Arizona is another one that a lot of folks, fled to during COVID. Florida, Maryland, Vermont, New York, Georgia, Tennessee, South Carolina. Tennessee's had a lot of new construction. South Carolina, Texas, Minnesota, North Carolina, Connecticut. It's interesting that Connecticut is growing up. Connecticut was always considered a pretty affluent state. It's interesting that it's down 13.8%, as opposed to being up here with the big dogs. In the 62%, 40s, 30s. It's all the way over here, 13.8%, which is interesting. Alaska, 13.5%. Why are the prices going up in Alaska? Anybody got any commentary on that? I'd be interested to know. So this is very interesting. Let me check and see what you guys, see if you guys maybe have any questions. You got any questions? You pop in the chat. You got any frustrations? Pop it in the chat. Paul T says people should be able to downsize when they want, not when tax loopholes allow. I completely agree. Completely agree. Dee Dee says, I can't write off a new roof or any home repairs in California. Really? Maybe talk to the financial advisor that Angie has, because Angie's in California. See that I would double check that, unless Angie, you put a special type of roof on that allows it to be, considered a capital improvement. MJ says, Wednesday is my Monday. Still have to do laundry. That's why you go shopping. That's why you do grocery shopping Tuesday nights. Okay, here we go. Lynn says IRMAA is a Medicare surcharge, can be huge for the year with an income spike. Interesting. I did not know that. Potpourri of life with Laura. I don't understand the capital gains tax when we pay property taxes, double taxation. So I understand where you might think that, but it's in two entirely different government entities. So your capital gains tax is going and being used for entirely different reasons than the property taxes. Property taxes are all about infrastructure. It's all about local improvements. It's, your roads. It is, the schools. It is, improving the quality of life in the town that you live. All of those things, those property taxes go into your local government. Capital gains is a federal tax. So it's you're talking federal government as opposed to local government. Yes, it's two levels of taxation, but it's not double taxation. Property taxes you can't avoid paying. But the capital gains tax, if you don't sell, you don't pay. So two different ways. I hope that makes sense for you. Angie says anything that adds capital improvement and is a permanent upgrade, prolongs its usefulness, qualifies as a capital gain. Obviously, wallpaper, interior paint doesn't. Okay, so if you're improving, say you add a roof, and that it is, a substantial upgrade versus the regular tab shingle that you had before that maybe had a 20-year warranty, and you put on a 50-year warranty roof, architectural shingle, or one of those newfangled metal roofs, or depending where you live and whatnot. So maybe that's what they're talking about. But yes, the wallpaper, your regular upkeep maintenance stuff, you can't include in capital improvements. So let's see here. Thank you for sharing that. Yes, property taxes, capital gains are a different tax and go to different places. The American dream secretly equals the government's taxation dream. I know. Well, yes and no. And I'm not going to defend it because, I mean, who likes paying property taxes? I don't. Nobody does. But the price of beef, I talked about that last week. The price of beef has gone up through the roof. The price of groceries has gone through the roof. The price of labor has gone through the roof. The leak that I talked about earlier at the beginning of this video, this live stream, because I'm comfortable doing it, I'm going to do my own plumbing repair. Part of it is because it's very empowering to do it, to say I can do it, and I'm competent and I'm comfortable doing. I'm confident to do it properly. The other piece is I'm going to save a bucket full of money, because to have a plumber come, to have an electrician come, yes, if it's outside my comfort zone, if it's outside my expertise, or I will absolutely call them. But those costs keep rising. The cost of doing business. When a town hires a paving company, if you live in the Northeast, when they hire plow companies, in my area, every year, the state puts out big on, their billboard signs on the highway, hiring, it'll be soon. Actually, we'll start seeing, the notices that the state's looking to hire snowplow, people. Anybody that submits their application, they're all private contractors. Well, guess what? The cost of fuel has gone up for those trucks. The cost of maintenance has gone up for those trucks. So the cost of paying them what they're expected to be paid has also gone up. And as much as it stinks to pay taxes, as much as it stinks to shell out that money, you're paying for the infrastructure. You're paying that money so that you don't have to. It's got to come from somewhere. It's got to come from somewhere. And yes, I do think government officials, local and otherwise, are they're well paid. Maybe a little bit. Some are probably paid more than they should be. But yeah, it's not as it's a tough situation. Lynn says my taxable gain would be after deducting cost basis and okay, gotcha. $250,000 exclusion and sales cost. Ouch. Ouch, ouch, ouch. So you're three to 500,000, I think you had said, you're taxable. We're at liability after your exclusion. I'm sorry. Let's see. What's the California median price excluding Barstow? I don't know. Based on the I don't know when you asked that question. Unfortunately, I don't have these timestamps on these comments. According to this article, the median home price is $766,000 for the entire state. Oh, here we go. Angie says around 900,000. Kara says remarry for a few months to get that benefit. Well, I don't know if the pain would outweigh the reward. Maybe. Husbands for hire. Can I pick the husband? This is what I want to know. I would love. I got a few people in mind. you know, that are or they're way out of my league. That you know, Pedro Pascal's, I wouldn't mind him, but that's neither here nor there. That's another topic for another show. Uh, let's see. Dun, 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 dun. Lynn says self-serving single me wishes she got 500,000 exclusion. Yep, I bought out my husband's equity in the divorce and can't recover that in my cost basis. This is what I'm talking about, Lynn. This is what I'm talking about. You, as an empowered single person, single woman, single person, you did this thing. You took on this financial responsibility, and now you're not getting that benefit from it. I just am not. I just think that that doesn't rest well with me. Uh, you're very welcome. Thank you for being here. Let's see. Angie says, unless you want to pay more for Medicaid, you need to sell 2 years prior to collecting it will count as part of your income for 2 years. Good to know. I can do plumbing up to the toilet. There we go. I think basic homeowner skills and all the things is I think it's a necessity. Paul says to do your capital gains before turning 63. Explain. Explain. Does something change when that happens? Maybe it has to do with Social Security. Well, Social Security is 65, I think. 65 or 60, so it depends on when you want to max out, I guess. Lydia says, I'm not waiting for a potential capital gains cut. Sold in Silicon Valley, 716. Escrow closes on 820. Our tax will be around the bill or the capital gains. It must be the gains that you'll be taxed on. It'll be around $500,000. Ouch. Ouch, ouch, ouch. I think suffice to say something has to change. The question is what and how is gonna, how is that going to be impacted? Let's see. I want to jump over actually to the poll. So the poll, if the capital gains was eliminated, what would that impact your decision to sell? And so 15% said possibly, 38% said yes, 47% said no. So, that is interesting. And this is why, you know what, I want to believe that something positive will impact the market to move it, to help those that need help in some way, shape, or form. I think this has the potential to help some, but not enough. It is not a life preserver. It is not. Not as a standalone. There was some articles, and I'm watching this as it unfolds. There was some more chatter about, the administration's effort to increase affordable housing through relaxed regulation and allowing folks. I know there was some content. There was some part of the big beautiful bill talked a little bit about this a couple weeks ago about the fact that there's some first time home buyer affordable home housing for investors when they build new construction. There's going to be some extra benefits that will be allowed when they build those first time home buyer homes to help bring that inventory in, but not just bring inventory in, build new homes that are in the median and above. We need to get the median below in every area of the country to allow people to get their foot in the door. I wanted to just take a quick, because we're talking about the housing market. This is a housing market show. So I wanted to just take a quick peek on what's happened. This was yesterday's data, where buyers are taking power fast. So this is a quick update on what's happening in the country and I'll skip through all this stuff. A lot of this stuff is repeated every week about, the inventory and so forth. This is while national inventory is still up year over year. And this is important. There's a reason why I highlighted this. The pace of growth has slowed in recent weeks, more than typical seasonality would suggest, as some sellers have thrown in the towel and delisted. More on that in another piece. So the delisting or home sellers taking the houses off the market, I've talked about this in the past, is having a significant impact in the overall inventory. Okay, so why is that a big deal? The reason it's a big deal is because of the fact that all of the discussion around the market crashing and the prices plummeting. In order to do that, you need more inventory. The seller needs to have competition. If there's 3 houses on the street that are just as good as yours, and you guys are all competing for the same buyers, then guess what's going to happen? Somebody's going to give to entice that buyer to make an offer. That's when, that's kind of been happening, but it's been slowed. So that quick crash that happened in 6, 7, and 8 that resulted in Northeast, we saw 30% drop in values over a very short period of time. We had a huge amount of inventory, a lot of inventory, and the sellers couldn't cut the prices fast enough to compete for the buyers. Well, if you take that out of the equation, what is going to, what is going to instigate a crash? Having the buyers just not buy is not enough because of what we've been seeing. The buyers are not buying. So the sellers are not slashing their prices, which would be the first step. That would be the thing that would cause a crash. No, they're taking their houses off the market and they're staying put. How homeowners that are taking their houses off the market and staying put, all that's doing is ensuring that the market's not going to crash because you're keeping the inventory low. Period. Our market up here, and I talk to my very, very, very good friend, Jackie Baker, all the time down in Jersey, North Jersey, and her market's been red hot for a long time. They absolutely are seeing cracks in the armor, and their market is definitely shifting. And we were chatting the other day. I put this house on the market last Tuesday. For all the folks that are out there, the lack of inventory, it has definitely improved over the last year over year. There's twice as much inventory that there was a year ago. It was very low last year, very low. So, a 50%, 100% increase is not significant enough, still way below where we need to be. That being said, we put that house on the market. I had a lot of showings. I had probably, 20, 25 showings, a short period of time. I did not get crazy offers. It was safe to say, it's under contract. When it closes, the price will become public knowledge, but safe to say, suffice to say that it wasn't like it was a year, 2 years, 3 years ago. But there are buyers out there. There are buyers that are not, some are digging in, but a lot of them are not. A lot of them are trying to buy a house. So the fact that we got an offer and they accepted an offer 4 days after it went on the market, that's an insulator. If we put the house on the market, and yes, I do believe in proper pricing and proper presentation. And my home sellers, I give the biggest kudos to, that they spent a couple months like that, getting their house as best it possibly it can look. And then we talked about strategies with pricing. The price was not underpriced. It was a fair price. And that was exactly what happened because we had the price right. That was the thing that brought people in. But if we were on the verge of a crash, we would not have had so many showings. We would not have had so many offers. Now, those in the southern states, and I know a lot of you reach out and you're having a hard time. There are areas where it is tough. And yes, the houses are on the market longer than what the average is. All I can say, and I'm working on some content on that and how to navigate it. Um, but if you've got to look at pricing, because the market is not it's not where uh headlines would tell you where it is for sure. Um, Anywho, this kind of shows it, the stall. So this is where we are now and the trajectory. And you know what? And you look at this trajectory, you look at where it was in 2018 before COVID, 2017. There's always the spring market heading into the summer. There's always an upward swing of people putting their homes on the market every year. This is not as a standalone indicative of a market that's heading into trouble. Not a standalone, but more importantly, it's stalling. It's starting to stall. Um, it says that there was here it is. It says if we maintain the current, but it's still changing. The current year-over-year pace of inventory growth, by a year from now, we'll have 1.3 million active listings. That will bring us back to where we were before COVID in a year. That is assuming nothing changes. I'll say it again. That's assuming that nothing changes. That's assuming that interest rates don't go down. I think they will. Probably not a huge amount. I think it's going to be early next year, but I think they will. There will be some adjustment. If the interest rates go down, that's going to spur more activity. When you have more activity in the markets that are where we are at, where they're marginal markets, it's gonna create more competition. Probably going to it's going to drive some prices up in some areas for sure, uh, which will be challenging. Will actually absolutely be challenging, but when you look at this kind of data, the thing that I want you to do when you're out there, you're reading these articles, and you want to make sure that you not take it for face value. Don't take it for face value. It says, "Oh, I want to have this money." This, some economists even say, "Well, geez, this is or some blog article that was written or newspaper, media, mainstream media posts an article. Well, if this happens, if it continues, it's like, well, question why? Look at it, turn it on its side and look at it a different way, because it may not be factoring in all the things. We got Fabiano in the house. How you doing, my friend? Coming in from New Hampshire. Good old New Hampshire. Where Adam Sandler lives, by the way. If anybody has not seen Happy Gilmore 2, I highly recommend it. Absolutely hilarious, especially if you're a golfer. I'm a wannabe golfer. Golfing on Sunday. First time this year. Oh my goodness. I'm good at losing balls in the woods. That's what I am. I heard you have one extra year after spouse's death to get $500,000 exclusion. Yes. Yes, 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 yes. And actually I had an article, and I you know what? I would take me a little bit to dig it out. But I actually mentioned that in the video I did about capital gains. So there is an exclusion. You do have a window. You also have a small window if you inherit a property. It's very important that you take a look at that. If you inherited, your parents pass away, or your loved one passed away, and you inherit that property, and that property they lived in for 50 years, please talk to an accountant immediately to find out what your options are. A lot of folks, and I see this all the time, when you have a loved one pass away, it is hard. It's hard. It's it's a separation, and maybe you can't deal with it and the memories and all the things. If you wait too long, you're going to be stuck with a big tax bill, because there is a window where you don't pay tax. There is a 100% exclusion, 100%. Where you don't pay any taxes on a property that you inherit. But it doesn't last. Like, it's not permanent. It is a small window. So make sure you check that out. Lynn says, rich people's problems, but as someone who has worked 2 full-time jobs the entire time of mortgages to afford this, it tweaks me off. Amen. 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 You know what? I I have mad respect for anyone that has buckled down and done the hard work and put the time in to get where they're at. Um, just because, and then on the flip side, here's the thing. There is a lot of sentiment. I'm just going to say my 2 cents on this because, well, it's my show. I hear oftentimes, I see this. You see this, everyone's so judgy and all the things. Seek to understand what I always say at every live stream. Before you judge, seek to understand. Um, there's a lot of judgment, and I certainly am not doing that here on in this platform with this topic. There is a lot of judgment that just because you have this house that's worth a million, 1.5 million, that somehow you're in that bracket where you didn't earn it, that it was given to you, that it was easy money, it was inherited, whatever. No, that's not the case. It's not the case all the time. There are a lot of hardworking people that work their tail off to get where they're at. Their tail off. I'll be honest, my husband and I bought our house 25 years ago, and for 16 years, we lived in a house that when we finally had, because I don't like to spend money that I don't have, so I waited, saved, did what we could to do repairs, and finally was in a position to do a full, rip out the siding and the roof and the windows and all the things. And my kids being, this was 10 years ago, so there'd be a little whippersnappers. And they said, "Oh, we don't live in it doesn't look like we live in a haunted house anymore, Ma." I'm like, you live here, right? Like, I can change that in a heartbeat. Just tempt me. But we worked for it. I still work for it every day, weekends, maintenance, yard maintenance, all the things. Lynn, kudos for you working 2 jobs, doing the hard work, putting the time in to get the dividends, 100%. Thank you for making that comment. Paul says IRMAA starts at 65, but has a 2-year look back. So that is where 63 comes back. I gotcha. And Angie says it's income related monthly adjustment amount. Interesting. Let's see. Paul says I'm 59. I bought a new home before. I don't have an income from mortgage approval. I needed to swing loan while carrying 2 homes. Woof. Angie says taking power sounds a little extreme. I certainly don't want that job. All joking aside, no, thank you. You can't make everybody happy. Let's see. Allie Dion, welcome. Allison here is my area. Four Corners house prices increased 40%. Craziest houses in my neighborhood are 930s. Oh my gosh. 930. Some updated. That's crazy. I feel like the more outrageous the prices are getting, the older I feel. Back in my day. Coors Lake 2025. Good to see you. I'm trying to connect the dots between an increase in California's ADUs and cities suddenly raising sewer rates a significant amount. They say the increase is for upgrading old infrastructure. Maybe. It could be if it's in an area, just kind of spitballing here, but maybe in an area that was affected by natural disaster. So they're updating for code to, or whatnot. Possibly. It would seem, I would find it hard to believe that they would raise the sewer rates on the premise that everybody's going to be adding an ADU. Because I think that at the end of the day, I think ADU, or some, if you're watching, you wonder what that is. It's a accessory dwelling unit. It's basically a glorified shed. So take a shed, but add a bathroom, shower, small kitchen. You can use them for rentals, in-laws, outlaws, all the things, offices, and whatnot. A lot of towns are approving them. Plymouth, here where I'm at, have approved them. And if you have, I mean, of course, you can't just stick it on a, 15th of an acre property and stick it in the corner. It's got to have, there's certain zoning requirements and whatnot. But that being said, I've been approached actually by a couple different companies in my area, wanting to do collaborations and whatnot. I haven't seen a ton of them popping up all over the place. So I don't know that that's catching on yet, but who knows? Because the millennials, the Gen Zs, the folks these first time home buyers that are having a hard time getting their foot in the door, it might be a viable option to have, to have something like that, or have an aging parent. I have a friend that did that, and they had actually a tiny home put on their property when their mother, decided, I don't want to manage this house by myself. So her husband passed away, and so she, sold her home and moved into the tiny home that was on their property. And working out great. Fabian says, how do you believe the market is holding on New Hampshire? That's a great question. I don't have data for New Hampshire, to be perfectly honest. I don't. I can only surmise. I mean, the referral partners that I talk to, that kind of clue me in on what's happening, in different markets. It sounds very much like it's happening down here, which means that it is slowing, but not anywhere near the way it is down in the southern states, the western part of the country, not anywhere near that level. It's starting to slow. Pricing is the key. Pricing is the key. Yep, there we go. Clark says, you have to make sure you price accordingly, and you still be able to sell. Amen, my friend. Amen, amen. All right. Take a look here. Let me take a look here. Oh gosh, this is a great chat. I so appreciate you guys sharing all your stories and all the things. Lynn says, I and my sisters inherited my mom's house 2020. We sold it 2021. Got that stepped up cost basis. There you go. That's why some elderly folks with giant appreciation stay put. Kids can inherit it tax free. So actually, you bring up a great point that I had forgotten about to say, forgotten to mention earlier about inherited homes. The stepped up basis when you inherit a property, the capital gains, what they will allow you to do is whatever that sells for will be your cost basis. So in other words, there's no tax. So if when you inherit a property, you're not responsible for paying any capital gains because of the fact that they step up. It's not just we're waiving everything. It's because, if you sell it for $1 million and your parents bought it for 100,000 back in the day, there's no gap between, for that cost basis. 100,000 be the cost basis. If you put $100,000 of capital improvements, now you have a $200,000 cost basis. But now you have $200,000 cost basis and $1 million sale price. You have an $800,000 difference. Well, when it's inherited, you have a full value cost basis. So now that cost basis is $1 million. You sell it for $1 million, even Steven, no taxes. And that's and you know what, Lynn, you bring up a great point. I think, a lot of folks, and hey, aging in place is a thing. My parents are doing that. They're aging in place. They will probably, till they get dragged out of there, they're probably not going to leave their house. And they're not alone. Angie says, nope, due to them building ADUs, they have to update the sewer system. Interesting. All MHOA says all this new construction doesn't have a large enough yard to cook cookout and let alone put up a shanty. That's true. You know, and I had an article last week that talked about a new a new bill that was passed that was approved and is a law that is going to affect in September, I believe, next month, allowing builders to streamline conversion of commercial properties into residential properties. A lot of commercial buildings that are empty, and they're bypassing red tape to convert those into residential properties. So there's no yards. A lot of opportunities, though, to get your foot in the door, maybe with some lower cost housing. Bubble in says solar panels are required to offset the ADU's electricity. Solar panels are required. Interesting electricity consumption, but they do not necessarily need to be installed on the ADU. California has concern about added electricity use, so maybe sewer too. Interesting. So they require solar panels in California when you do an ADU, but they don't have to be installed on the ADU? That sounds a little excessive. Why do people with a yard put their solar collectors on their roof? This, I guess, you know what? Depends on how big your yard is. I will tell you, I am a fan of solar on the basis of what you can do. I think that the real benefit is when you own the panels, not lease them. However, I don't have it. I don't have solar panels. And why? Because the only place to put them would be on the front of the house. And at the end of the day, I think that would be ugly. I just don't think it would be. It wouldn't be attractive. I'm not a fan of putting it on the front. If I had another option, and I have a half an acre, but I'm on a corner lot, so there's really no place to put. I don't have a big enough yard. But that's a great point, Paul, for sure. Yeah, Angie says so you don't have to look at them. Yeah, I mean, I would rather put them on the back than put them in the yard. But in any event, yes, keep your panels off the grid. How about, better yet, feed the grid. Put that money back in your pocket. Anyways, hey guys, thanks for joining. Thanks for jumping in the chat, and thanks for the poll here. I really appreciate everybody contributing that. This is going to be an interesting thing to watch and monitor as we go forward. See what happens with these capital gains. If this actually comes to fruition, if the bill does get passed, and if it passes, what does it pass as? I think it's likely going to be modified to increasing the caps. And then I think it should be passed. 110%. I would be shocked if it didn't pass at this stage of the game. 110%. Hey guys, I'm gonna chime off. I'm gonna step off here. 7:30 my time, and I gotta get some dinner. So I'm gonna jump. I really appreciate you guys being here. As always, I say this every week. Seek to understand before you pass judgment. If you don't agree with somebody's thought process or their opinions or whatever not, ask questions. You don't have to agree with it. Just try to understand. Understanding leads to empathy. It leads to it's a lot less friction when you have empathy and understanding for someone. Doesn't necessarily mean that you guys are button heads. It just means you see things differently, and that is okay. That is okay. Check in on your neighbor. Take care of each other. Be kind. And I'll see you guys next week. Next Tuesday, 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Same bat time, same bat channel. Everybody, have a great week. Thanks for joining me tonight. We'll see you next week. See ya.